So how sick is this new app, Yik Yak? It can light up cell phones all over a high school with nasty, mean messages, anonymously posted, I understand. Gang bullying is my term for it. Schools are trying to ban them. Some are trying hard, but I don't know. Is that possible? To the insecure adolescent, and that is the age of insecurity, words matter. Words can wound. Words can kill when they are cruel and sadistic words of bullying that prompts a boy or a girl to kill themselves. It's our mind-body segment with Dr. Amy Brodsky, who is a medical doctor with a specialty in dermatology and offices in Glenview and Park Ridge, and Dr. Michelle Epstein, who has a Ph.D. in clinical psychology and has a private practice in Deerfield. Good to see you both again.
Good to
Thank
see you. Bill.
Tell me about this app and the particular vulnerability of adolescence.
Yeah, well, it's, as you were talking about, it is the potential for gang bullying. It's also the potential for, massive destruction. It could be disseminated to anybody who's
Massive
nearby.
emotional, psychological destruction.
Yes. And, the problem with placing this in the hands of adolescents who are impulsive.
Explain how it works, first of all.
Oh, well, so apparently you can download this app, and the way it works is that anyone who's in your vicinity who also has the app can see what you post, and you can post it anonymously. So as you said, if you're in a high school and you post a rumor, gossip, even stuff about the staff, instantly anyone in the vicinity, so presumably the rest of the student body, sees what you've posted, but you can do it anonymously.
And you could say anything bad about somebody. You can say the worst things.
True,
and
false, or otherwise.
And kids are ganging up on kids. Now they're actually letting it not get through the
They are
cloud.
blocking it.
They can do that?
Well,
Yeah.
what my understanding is that several high schools have blocked it on their Wi-Fi. Now, kids can still access it on their cellular data.
Yeah.
But my understanding, something I read recently said that Yik Yak has actually pulled it from the Chicago market.
That would be
I
great.
believe. In the meantime, while they're trying to work it out, obviously we could get into an entirely different discussion about commercialism and why they would create something that could be so
Horrible.
detrimental
Yeah.
because it's all about the dollar. But yeah, I mean,
But social media in general can be used in varying ways to do sort
Definitely.
of the same thing.
Well, here's the problem. Otherwise, really good kids that don't have this well-developed frontal lobe yet and aren't mature enough to see what they're writing, they're putting things out there and making really bad choices. So they don't have good choices at this day and age, and then it's going to follow them
When you say
throughout
choices,
life.
you mean in deciding what they want to say about other
Right,
people?
or they're communicating pictures instead of writing their feelings. And so those pictures are through the lens of a camera, and then it goes out to lots and lots of people. It can be, like you said, a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, they're impulsive. They're about immediate gratification. They don't have the forethought to think about, if I put this out there, what could be the ramifications? And if you think about, one of the big things we teach our children and our adolescents is accountability, right? Our actions have consequences, and it's a tough thing for them to learn.
You need to have empathy, though,
Yes.
to understand those consequences.
Perspective taking.
And after the fact, when a little girl jumps off a building and kills herself, and they
Right.
interview all these kids, and they go, I had no idea.
What
They
about the
can't-
girl that lost her parents' lawsuit for $80,000 because she was bragging on Facebook? Or the girl that takes the selfie? Or how about the president of the United States that takes a selfie picture when he is at Nelson Mandela's funeral? But of course, we're going to talk about bad sides of social media. There are good sides of social media. All these kids that are becoming...
Well, it's a reality. There's no
is a reality.
denying that for adolescents, it's ingrained in their experience. I was thinking about 20 years I've been working with adolescents and how much things have changed in just the last kind of 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The shift, this was not a piece of growing up until 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Now it is ubiquitous. Everyone has an iPhone and everyone communicates this
And
way.
everybody's texting. I mean, I'll have patients in my office. They don't even look up. They're texting their friends while they are sitting in my office.
The question I have is also on the sexualization of things, is that sometimes you don't have a mature or fully developed understanding of
Mostly.
sexuality and sex.
Mostly for adolescents.
Yeah, and
Well,
they're saying things, doing things, showing things about themselves that
And
are
learning.
way off base because they don't really understand the boundaries yet.
Right, and learning things. I was talking to a colleague in my practice, and she was saying that when she asks young boys, well, where are you learning about sex? Where they're learning it? Pornography.
Yeah, on the internet.
And they did not have access to that years ago. Now it is literally at their fingertips. And that's how boys and girls are learning to define their sense of what sex and sexuality is, which is very damaging.
I also think a really important point is kids are being left out, whereas you used to have a birthday party and you didn't know maybe this girl was having a birthday party. Well, now we know because they're snapping pictures, putting on Facebook, and other kids are feeling left out. I mean, I think there is a good thing that social media for kids who are not real social and not well connected, it allows them to interact with people that they've would have never reacted with before. But I also think it's really addictive, and it's allowing kids to not be connected anymore.
Dark side of social media we're talking about. Is that a concern with you? Have you seen an experience where a child has been harmed? What about the vulnerability, the emotional and psychological vulnerability? It is fragile that kids have, and they really don't know the damage they're doing psychologically when they post certain things. Doctors Amy and Michelle here talking about sort of the dark side of social media. Joan is a teacher. What's your take on this? Joan, go ahead. You're on WGN.
Hang on.
Okay.
For how long?
Sorry, I hope you speakerphone. I have never, ever called into anywhere before. I just want to say that I'm a CPS teacher, and I work at a neighborhood school, and I feel like I've been constantly fighting the kids on their phones, whether they are trying to text one of their classmates or if they're trying to text someone at home or, looking at Facebook. It's a constant battle, and it's really hurting, what's happening in the classroom because they're so distracted.
Not just the classroom, Joan. I think it's hurting in all departments of life. I think they're having stunted social skills development because this is their chosen form of interaction. They don't know what the organic process is to carry on a conversation, to have a face-to-face interaction with somebody.
The American Academy of Pediatrics is suggesting no more than 2 hours of screen time per day. I even think that you think that's a lot, 2 hours, but
how
they're
quickly
probably
that passes.
on that screen way more than, and that's including computer, TV, and cell phone. They should actually check their cell phones at the door before they get into school.
Nice. Joan, have you figured out any methods or have colleagues?
Well, we tried to do that, and that didn't go over too well. We had kids hiding their phones in all of different parts of their clothes and everywhere. So the school rule is they're supposed to keep them in their locker, and that really has not happened.
And
that's a shame.
Are they confiscated if they're caught using them? Is there a consequence in place?
Yes,
Yes,
there are.
There are.
But it's just a constant battle. I'm like, please.
It'd be like a
phone away.
full-time job policing that.
And Joan, have you heard of Yik Yak?
Absolutely.
Have you heard of this new one, Yik Yak?
Do they have that at your school?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
That I don't know, but yes, I have heard of Yik Yak. And we have had some major problems at our school with, fights and so forth because the kids are on, the cell phones bullying one another. They'll do something, say something, post something, and then the next thing you know, we've had some fights. And it really is a serious problem.
Yeah.
Joan, I'm glad for the report from the front lines of the CPS. That's very challenging. It's kind of frustrating, but it underscores the fact that this is a new reality in the world, in school, at home.
Right.
Definitely.
So what about the consequences of bullying? How do you deal with that? How do you help kids understand how to heal themselves who've been bullied and how to help the bullier realize that it's such a horrible, damaging thing to do?
Yeah, it's a really tough thing because what you were talking about before is empathy and perspective taking, which is still evolving. And, it used to be you might have one kid bullying another kid, and that was tough enough to sort of do an intervention. But now you can have this mass bullying where a group gets on board, right? So someone writes something or posts something, and now you have all these comments, and it becomes, a gang up. It's very difficult. I know the schools struggle with it tremendously. And I think, again, it goes back to accountability. Kids understanding that when they post things, they need to think about what are the implications for myself, because a lot of them are posting things and
They're not
ruining their
wired to
own
think that
reputation.
way.
I know.
Well, let's talk about how we can remedy this. I mean, parents have to empower their kids. They have to engage their kids. They have to encourage their kids to understand how to be, have self-esteem and have awareness and strengthen them so that they don't make these poor choices. So we have to talk to our kids very early.
Do you talk to your kids about it?
I do. I actually took away my daughter's Instagram account. She's only 9 years old. I didn't even know she had it. But yeah, we have to actually police these phones and be a voyeur in their world. We have to watch.
Well, that's a big piece of it. Now, your kids already have phones. It gets a lot harder. But as we are handing phones to our kids who are younger, there needs to be expectations set up initially.
And they have to know what the rules are. That
they
the
know.
parent has to know your password. The
Yes.
parent has access anytime
Yes.
they want.
anytime.
Yes.
Whether
And
it's-
then what I recommend in my practice is you should be on their accounts, you should be their friend, but you should be a voyeur. You want to watch, you want to see what's going on, but you
That's
don't.
the best word, to be a voyeur. But, an omnipresent...
You want to watch,
But
you
you're
don't wanna
there,
get
but you don't
involved.
want to
I know
comment.
what you
You don't want to disrupt their social experience.
Right.
But at the same time, you do have to be their external, moral compass. And if you see things that you don't like or maybe don't understand, a good place to start is a conversation. I saw this. Let's talk about it. You don't want to be judgmental or instantly assume the worst, because then your kid's going to disengage and not share with
Yeah,
you.
or come down on them too hard.
Right.
I told you never to...
Right.
Then they'll
They'll never share with you.
Yeah.
In my family, we're starting to take things back. So I'm taking less screen time now, and I'm starting to police their phone. Probably should have done this earlier and set limitations and not wait until she got in trouble to do this.
But it's happening so fast. I think
It's
the
happening so
disadvantage we are at as parents is that it's all happening so fast. It's hard as parents to keep up with it. That's why, you have to be able to have access to your kid's phone, see what the latest apps are, and try to stay up with them. And it's challenging.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, because this
It
Yik
really
Yak,
is.
Yik Yak popped up out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And suddenly, none of the adults knew about it. None of the teachers and supervisors knew about it. But kids all over the place are using it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Snapchat, seriously a problem.
Well, it's interesting because we're criticizing them because they're not developing communication skills because of social media, and yet they definitely have found a way to communicate with one another and
Right.
share all this information. And as parents, we're always constantly trying to keep up.
I think we should get our kids to listen to 720 WGN radio.
Yes.
Yes.
They will be enlightened.
As we say, the original social media.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, Dr. Amy, you've got to practice the derm. What's your website?
The www.thederm.net.
And Dr. Michelle, it's a private practice, so we're not going to give that out.
I do have a website. It's
Oh, good.
www.
Is this new?
Yes, www.gfapsych.com. You can find me there.
What do the initials mean?
Galt Fishbein and Associates.
Galt, Fishbein, and Associates. Okay. So
Nothing fancy.
I got to look at that to see. what
And
it
check
is.
out our Facebook page, our social media page.
Yeah, see?
Dr. Amy and Dr. Michelle. And then you can get a link to Dr. Michelle's practice in case you didn't hear that.
And we'll podcast this interview as we do each week on our website, WGNradio.com, and you can see what we all look like.